Hello, my friends. Welcome to this analysis that we're doing about the top 20 public companies in the world. And today is the turn of Apple Inc. Apple Inc. is considered the most valuable company in the world by Mr. Warren Buffett. And let's take a look into this very interesting company. And of course, I should start with Mr. Steve Jobs. Here in this picture, he was born in 1955 and he's considered by many as the first personal computer father, the father of this computer, although it was his partner Steve Wozniak who actually built it. What Steve Jobs' merit is to convert this company into from an invention to a product and then to a big company. So and also he was never involved in the technical aspects of the products. However, he was a visionary about customer. So let's take a look into him. He was son of two students who couldn't take care of him, so they gave him for adoption to a couple named Paul and Clara Jobs. Paul was a railroad worker and Clara was a housewife. So when he was 6 years old, they moved to Mountain View, which is south of Palo Alto, and this was a hub of electronics where gadgets as radios, televisions, stereos, and computers were being formed. When he was 12 years old, he joined the Hewlett-Packard Explorer Club, which was a youth association where HP engineers taught children to develop computers. And when he got into the age of getting to college, he went to Reed College in Portland, Oregon, but then he decided to drop school in the second semester and started flirting with drugs and seeking philosophy, and then he did a trip to India to get on a spiritual quest. In 1971, the first microprocessor was created in the US, and in 1974, when he was hired by Atari, the video game company, as a designer, so he was designing video games. Then he became partner of Steve Wozniak because he found out this curiosity of the potential of creating a home computer in the garage of Steve Wozniak. So when he was 21, he decided to sell the Volkswagen van to found Apple Computer at 21 years old. So by 22, they introduced Apple II, the first consumer computer, accompanied by a shower of orders, becoming the fastest growing company in the US. So before, computers weren't personal. There were big spaces with rooms that only business people specialized used to use them. So by then, year after year, since 1977, they created different versions of Apple. And by 1980, when he was 27 years old, Apple went public. And in 1981, IBM copied the Apple II and they launched the PCs. So that's where PCs were born in 1981. And they started to fill the market because they had lower costs, and they had then suddenly by 1983, Apple had lost half of its market to IBM. So in 1984, Jobs and Wozniak launched the Macintosh, which was the first computer that you didn't need any computer skills to use it, and it was easy to pay and to use, and it also had a graphical interface and very friendly with a very exquisite design. And so these design ideas of being always in the frontier of the products, it's what created a big brand for Apple. And now all their products have this characteristic that are very friendly use, and then they're easy to handle. You don't need a lot of skill to handle these products. In 1985, when he was 30 years, Steve ended his collaboration with Steve Wozniak, and Steve Wozniak left Apple. And in that same year, 1,200 employees were laid off due to a company restructuring, and Jobs was forced to resign over differences with the CEO John Scully. So in 1985, when he was 30, he founded Next Computer, which used to develop object-oriented software, and then acquired George Lucasfilm for $10 million to give birth to Pixar Animation. So in 1986, when he was 31, Jobs actively participated in the creation of the movie Toy Story. In 1989, at the age of 34, he launched his first computer, but it was not profitable in Next Computer because the price was very high and it wasn't compatible with most of the existing systems. And however, this computer, the Next, was used by the British programmer Tim Berners when he started to devising the World Wide Web. No? In 1995, in alliance with Walt Disney, they released Toy Story. And in 1995, Microsoft released Windows 95 for clone PCs, which embarrassed Apple because its operating system made PCs manageable, making it very easy since a Macintosh was more expensive than the PCs. No? So in 1996, at 41, Apple buys Next Computer, the company of Steve Jobs, and that made Jobs the internal advisor without salary. And 9 months later, the Apple CEO resigns and Jobs returns to be the president of Apple, which was in the brink of bankruptcy in 1996. So in 1997, when he was 42 years old, Jobs announced that Microsoft decided to invest $150 million in Apple. And in 1998, when he was 43, Apple launched iMac, which is the computer integrated into the monitor. And it was very spectacular with avant-garde design. In 1998, Steve Jobs hired Tim Cook as vice president of global operations. And since Tim focused on managing worldwide sales and operations, and then that helped Jobs focus more in the CEO. In 2000, at 44, he became ICO, which was Apple's permanent CEO. In 2001, at 46, he launched the iPod. Jobs became the permanent CEO since 2000. In 2003, at 48, Apple launched the iTunes Store, and that year he was diagnosed with neuroendocrine cancer, but 9 months later, with surgery, the tumor was successfully removed. In 2004, at age 49, his health problems forced him to leave work to receive treatment for pancreatic cancer. So in 2007, at age 52, he introduced the iPhone, the first in the family of smartphones. And in 2008, the iPhone 3G is released, supporting 3G data and UMTS, making it the #1 most admirable company in Fortune. By age 2010, in 2010 and age 55, he launched iPhone 4, the most elegant model with a 5-megapixel camera, and the iPad, a hybrid of tablet and mobile phone without the need of a keyboard or a mouse. In 2010, he assigned as acting CEO Tim Cook, and in 2011, at age 56, Steve Jobs passed away at his Palo Alto home. So by 2012, Apple became the most valuable company in the world, 16 years after the return of Steve Jobs. And in 2014, they acquired Beats for $3 billion from Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, and then announced iPhone 6. In 2015, they launched Apple Watch, which tracks the physical state of people's health. By 2017, they revolutionized the launch with iPhone 10, which had facial recognition. And by 2020, Apple, under Tim Cook, had doubled its revenues and profits. No? So Apple is considered the most innovative company in personal computer industry, and it was because of Steve Jobs, who was considered a very strong inventor, which every time used to put more new functionalities with maximum simplicity for elegant and minimalist design. So everything that Apple does has these characteristics that I'm telling you. And also, it is very popular. It has a very strong base of fanatics that make this brand very valuable in the world. So they have, for instance, the sale of the products. So it's not necessarily an internet company, although it benefits from the development of technology. They have these subscriptions, and they have also licenses and media where they make money through their Apple portal. And Apple has its own ecosystem, so you don't interchange with the generic electronic products, but only among the Apple products. So if you get, for instance, your watch is coordinated with the system of your iPhone, and if they have their own ways of serving music industry, for instance. And what they like to ask people is to think different. That's their brand, and the design is beautiful. Usability is maximum. It provides some status to the people who use their products. So it creates this moat that Warren Buffett mentions. And every time you start using one of the products of Apple, you then jump to the other product and to the other product, and suddenly you are surrounded by the Apple products, which is something that it's liked by the people who invest in Apple. No, so let's take a look at this slide that I like a lot, which shows the financial progress of Apple in the last 10 years. So here, look how I put total assets in 2010. Now, by 2010, Tim Cook was almost getting in charge of Apple, no? And how in 10 years the progress is almost 3 times, no? Now, total assets is $327 billion. Before, the company didn't have any debt, so it was financed mostly by its shareholders' equity, which 10 years ago was 60 billion, almost 60 billion, and now it's 66 billion. So shareholders' equity hasn't increased much on this time, and most of the growth of property and equipment is probably financed by its debt. However, look at these total revenues. 10 years ago, it was $78 billion, and now it become at 277 billion, which is very, very impressive, no? The growth of the sales of products, no? Now, see the R&D expense. Before, they used to expend $2 billion 10 years ago, and now they have expenses of almost $19 billion of research and development. And the payoff, well, it's interesting how the net income before was $16 billion, and they are now getting net incomes of $58 billion. So you can see here millions of iPhones. 10 years ago, they used to sell 40 million iPhones, and now they almost sell 200 million iPhones around the world. And the sales price per iPhone has only increased 10% in the last 10 years. I'm using here prices adjusted to 2021. So an iPhone 10 years ago was $630, and now it's around $700. And the revenue that Apple gets from iPhone has multiplied, see, because before the revenue was $30 billion, almost half of the revenue of Apple became from iPhone, and now it has jumped to $139,000, meaning that it's a product that everybody in the world beloves a lot. And look at these Apple services, how they increased from $9 billion 10 years ago, and now they have come into $54 billion, no? And the accessories business is where I think it's the most of the growth of this business. Before, they used to sell $2 billion 2010. This is including AirPods, watch, and the new products that they coming out into the market. Now, accessories represent 30 billion or almost $31 billion of the business, no? So this is basically what is Apple. It's the Apple services, it's the platform where they sell the music, etc. And it's these accessories that are becoming more and more important in the ecosystem of Apple. But in the most important product is this iPhone, this recognition that it's technology that everybody can use, and it's very friendly for the user. And I like a lot this company because of the of how jealous they are for serving the customer with very, very good products that anyone can use. That's, I think, the one of the peaks of technology Apple right now for humanity. If anyone would use technology, it has to do. It is very friendly, although it is a bit expensive. That's what they say, that they wouldn't sell any products that they wouldn't share with their families. So some thumbs up for Mr. Steve Jobs. He created a very nice company with a very interesting philosophy, and also Mr. Tim Cook, that has done a great job creating, making the system larger and more robust, and making a very valuable company. No? So if you want to know more about investments, I'm putting here our slide that you've seen all this series of the video, and I'll be very happy if you send us any message. It is going to be very welcome, and thank you very much for hearing, and have a great day.